I've set aside this office and my new commercial space to be a dedicated filming spot. And oh man, I just can't wait for... Okay, you didn't see that, did you? Anyway, I'll show you how we converted this to this. Oh, it's a clap. To this.
Hey, I'm Drew. Maybe I can help with this whole snap clap dilemma.
That'd be great. This office measures 15.5 feet by 20 and would currently be a nightmare to film in. For starters, we've got these two giant windows, and anytime you're filming, you want to control the light as much as possible, so we've got to cover those. Then we've got this awful kind of white-gray wall that just doesn't provide a lot of contrast. This ugly white drop ceiling, which does help with echo, but is pretty nasty to look at. And finally, we've got the echo to deal with. Now, I don't know the first thing about shooting video. Have you watched my channel? Let alone setting up a dedicated filming space with the right lighting, background, and sound control. So I've enlisted the help of a good friend of mine, Drew Witt from Whitworks. Surely you've seen Drew's videos and how well they're lit and shot. Well, I need some help bringing some of that to my channel. Desperately. Drew's actually arriving in 2 days, so I've got to get as much done as possible before he gets here, and that is mostly addressing the painting situation. I'm going to be painting the ceiling a flat black and the walls a really dark gray. Time's ticking, so let's get going. And this is where I thought I was going to show you the final paint color, but this looks like dirty avocado. So I got a different dark gray without a greenish tint that I'm going to cover this up with. And much better, right? I got all the old avocado covered up with this peppercorn color, and the room is looking a lot better. And good timing too, because Drew is about to land. Let's go get him. I'm looking for Twitworks.
It's so good.
2 people on camera.
It's so weird.
So Drew, this is the space. So talk to me like a golden retriever. What's important about filming in a room like this?
All filmmakers are kind of control freaks, so you have to control the light. And the big thing is these windows that are kind of off camera. What will happen is maybe a cloud will come and then it'll make the room darker, lighter, and especially if you're doing like quick shots or sped up shots, all of a sudden the lighting changes and color temperature changes. So first thing would be to like black this out even more. Another cool thing is this room, by placing the camera where it is, you're able to get way more depth because of this corner. Whereas if we would have placed the camera, like say here, the room suddenly doesn't look as deep or as interesting.
Yeah.
And there's also another visual trick where you have what's called leading lines. Your eyes are automatically like being directed to this point, and you get a little bit more depth. So that's a good camera position. We can control lighting. We'll bring in other lights. Turn these crappy things off.
Okay.
Good
What
game
about
plan.
sound?
I think the sound is actually pretty good. These ceiling tiles are doing a lot for you.
Okay.
And you've got carpet, and you don't have a whole lot of hard surfaces in here, the walls, but there's no echo. I don't even think that you'd have to do any sound treatment.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Especially with these cool mics.
Yeah. Okay, so what should we do first? I think we should do
Taco?
tacos. Yeah.
We did that already.
After tacos.
We should probably kill the windows and then
I'll go
make
get
the
a
back.
baseball bat. Be right back.
We should probably get to work.
Yeah. So we headed to the big box store to grab some 1x2s for the back feature wall. It should give a cool texture in the shots, but we had to weed through like 200 of these things to find enough straight ones to do the job. I just wish we actually measured the wall beforehand. You don't think we need to measure anything, right?
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're fine. Once we got them back, we had to chop down all 80 down to their final length on this makeshift miter saw stand. I will say though, that dust collection is damn good, right? Finally came the slowest part, which was to stain all of these on 3 sides, which took us well into the wee hours of the night. Well, that was terrible,
It really was.
but it wouldn't be a DIY project without crappy wood and walnut stain, so got that going for us. So now we just need to put all of this on that wall.
Yeah. Why did I do this? I'm not sure why I agreed to fly down here. to do this.
And as long as it took to stain all these boards, it went up really fast. We used one of the boards on edge as a spacer and just made our way down the wall. Drew spent most of this time standing there holding the spacer while I was, working. So I would say we did pretty good for not measuring. This corner over here, we're off by a couple inches. Technically that's not really gonna be in frame very much, but yeah, the rest of the wall looks pretty good. What do you think, Drew?
It's all right.
So we figured the next logical step would be to kind of figure out what's going to go on here in the background. I've got these black racks here that can be kind of configured in a couple different ways. We're just going to mess around with setting them up in different orientations, figure out what works best. One of Drew's thoughts was maybe having my working desk on this wall over here, so it's in the background. I was always thinking of hiding it, but showing it in frame might be kind of cool.
His work?
This type of racking is great because you can totally customize the setup with different section heights and widths to fit your space.
I like the height.
Are you a guy that says height?
Height. I think I say height.
Okay, good.
Height. 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 I like the height. I kind of not sure. So
The tall section?
I think the bamboo should be like at this height, right? Height. Height. Maybe I say both. No. But I'm not sure like that you want.
Is this too much?
I feel like it covers this.
All right, so I think we got the configuration we want. We're gonna go with all lower desks here. Next step is gonna be cutting all the MDF we're gonna use for the shelves. So while Drew got to work unboxing and setting up all the lighting equipment that he made me buy, which of course will all be linked down below, I got set up on my track saw to cut the shelves. And after I hooked up to my new 3M dust extractor, I realized that I don't have one of those clever little 3D printed arbor covers that Drew sells. So he fixed that for me. And with the lights put together and moved into rough position, Drew got to work getting them dialed in. It's pretty cool seeing how everything comes together. The big main light pointed at my face is called the key light and is softened by this humongous softbox. There's also a light behind me called a hair light, which helps fill in some shadows and add some separation between my shoulder and the background. And it was at this point that we realized the big windows we thought were going to be a problem were actually okay. As long as the blinds were drawn, it really didn't impact the shots. We really didn't need to cover them after all. After putting the shelves in place, we started to bring in some background props that you'll see on camera. A mixture of lights, plants, and of course, a 3D printer. A little bit of function with some decoration. The last element were these colored lights to change the background color of the set. Drew played around with some different color combinations. Some looked good, while others, not so much. So this area behind me looks pretty bare right now. I know, it's gonna evolve over time. I've got some ideas for a sign, some tools, and some other cool props that'll go back there. I also went in and got my new standing desk set up from Fazebo. This one's cool because it's got a faux walnut top and this cool underlight that should look really good on camera in the background. Now, I'm a big fan of standing while I work, so having this here is great. Of course, you can create presets for different heights, and the load rating on these things is crazy. I'll leave links to this desk as well as the other one we're using in the space down below if you're interested. All right, so the last thing I want to address is this. The lighting looks fantastic, but behind the scenes, I've got all these stands and cords everywhere. I've got 3 small kids, and I know they're gonna find a way to trip over all that. So what I'm gonna do is use these cool articulating wall mounts to get everything off the ground. Because they can pivot, rotate, and extend, I can replicate the original light positions from off the wall rather than on the stands. And then I'll take some time to get all the cords cleaned up as well. It should make this space both safe for kids and functional for working in. So with that knocked out, I think we can call this studio build done. This space came out great, and I'm excited to start using it. But don't think I'm gonna abandon the garage shop for shooting videos. Heck no. This studio just gives me an option for a different kind of video that I never really could do well before. Or maybe it could be supplemental to one of my regular videos. I'm really just trying to level up the type of content I can deliver on this channel.
All right, so all this happened because when Travis first did his reveal of the space, he was doing a shot in here, maybe someone can throw up some B-roll, and I thought, big room, very ugly, I have an idea, and I went to the kitchen table and I sketched out this, sent him a picture, and he said, "You're hired." I thought that meant he'd pay me, but what it turns out is he'd fly me out and buy me Chick-fil-A.
Turns out that's all it takes.
That's all it takes, baby.
Yeah, so I'm pretty pumped with how it turned out. I mean, I don't think I could have done this myself because I don't know any of this stuff. Like this giant light in my face. Feels weird, but we freaking look good.
But look at the difference when I turn it off. Does that suck? This does look cool, I think, but the real reason to do this is not just to look cool, but to be efficient. Doing YouTube videos it's a lot of work. I'm not complaining, but there's a lot of friction involved, especially if you set up and then do your shot and you gotta tear it down and then you realize you forgot something or the mic wasn't working and then you have to go recreate that shot, get the angle right. And what I thought would be good for Travis was if he had a spot where he could kind of consistently do the same types of shots and all he has to do is walk in, turn on the lights and hit record. It just makes the process of making videos and content way faster. When inspiration strikes, you can just hit record instead of, well, in 30 minutes I can do that idea. So that was my reasoning for thinking of this.
Yeah, and for me it correlates a lot to the whole shop greatness thing because the whole premise of shop greatness is like just to have a space set up, be dedicated and be intentionally set up. And this is basically what this is. We approached it with intention. It's not just a room that we film in. Sometimes this is now the filming room.
And it's like, to me, it's dark on purpose because you can control things when they're darker, where if this was whatever color it was and the ceiling was white and ugly, it's not pleasing, but you really can't control light spill, reflections, things like that. So these lights, you can change any color. This is going to evolve. I can't wait to see what Travis does in a year. There's probably going to be a shop greatness sign up. This is like the blank canvas, the starting point. I think it's
yeah,
good.
One thing I think we should touch on is I came into this naively thinking we were going to have to do all of these things because I thought that there were just a bunch of problems with the space. One being the windows, and Drew thought that was a concern too, but once we got everything set up, we realized that the windows aren't actually that big of a deal. So we just draw the blinds and that reduces the light enough to control the space using the lights we have set up. So that was money saved. We went back and returned the, $150 worth of stuff that we bought. The other thing, I thought it would inherently just have echo problems, but Drew's expert ear told me I was an idiot.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to do anything with that either. So I went into it thinking we're gonna have to do a bunch of stuff. And you know, the correlation there is like sometimes we get into projects thinking that it's gonna be way more work than it is, when in reality you can adjust and pivot kind of as it goes. So that was cool.
Yeah, I was prepared. I'm here for like 2.5 days and I thought it was gonna be a ton more work. Really, the most of the work was staining that pine till like 11 p.m. last night.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part, was staining that wood. And then it went up in the wall in like an hour today. So
Yeah.
not having to do acoustic treatments and the windows, I think we had a lot more fun, I'll tell you that much.
So anyway, Drew, thank you so much for the help. I really appreciate it. He is a straight up expert. If you've not watched his content, please go do that. It's at Whitworks. He does really good stuff. Way smarter of a woodworker than I ever will be. And certainly
Not true.
smarter of a videographer than I'll ever be.
That
But
might be true.
I appreciate all the help.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me out. This wouldn't be a YouTube video without cheap pine and walnut stain.
Yeah. Someone clogged the toilet?
Yeah, someone dropped the juice.
Wasn't me.
That was Pam.
Did we just become best friends?
Yes. What are these, bunk beds? Can we make bunk beds, Dad? We're making cool bunk beds.
Look at all this space.
So much room for activities.
So stupid.
Hey, if they stick around to the end of the video, they deserve to see this.
Oh, it's not going to be the cold open? Okay.
We have to wear the shirts.
We have to wear the shirts. Okay. All right. I mean, we're recording.
We gotta come back from the beginning.
Okay.
It's like film school 101, right?
I don't know how to go.